What's up, everybody? Player Props Avant back here with my boy Monotone Football for another round. Week 2, NFL Props, DFS, pretty much everything you could ask for right here. How you doing this week, Monotone?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. Week 1's in the books. I think we both had some pretty solid weeks, and I'm excited to just keep building on it. It's great. I'm super happy football's back, so I'm hyped to be here.
Yeah, I saw you had a nice little easy cash last night, so that's always nice to start the week out in the green for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll be breaking down week 2. First off, what we'll always do is always go through the recap of last week. Overall, not a terrible one. I put DFS was fire because Monotone killed it with Mixon. Cook did all right. And then value plays were insane. You had Corey Davis. That was not too bad.
Yeah, he had a great week, man. I feel like I'm going to fall into the trap of playing Jets a little bit too often this year, Wilson, I feel like he's going to throw the ball 40-plus times every week, so I'm glad we got in on it early while the price was still super low. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, he's athletic, man. He found a way, even with that trash offensive line that he has. It was pretty good. My value guy last week on Stathero was Jalen Hurts. That was obviously pretty decent. That Stathero, the one I had for my max play, just absolutely obliterated that line. So it was nice to get a max, and that was my first ever max, and it was sweat free too. So very, very nice and easy cash there. So before we start, I think we got one comment in there. Are we riding Finn's money line? I do not know. I don't bet money lines very often. I really don't. That's a tough one, dude. That's a tough game.
Yeah, the Dolphins. I mean,
they have no Will Fuller either.
I know Will Fuller. I'm just gonna say no, just to be honest with you. I mean, all the public money is coming in on the other side of that game. Tua looked okay. I think we're gonna keep building on last year, but nothing special. I don't want to side super hard with the public right here, but I think this game might not even be close. Actually, I actually bet the Dolphins last week too. That was one of my early conviction plays. I bet it a couple weeks before the season even started. As soon as they announced Mac Jones was the starter, so I was happy with that. But I'm not going to ride with it week 2 quite yet. But if you're doing it, more power to you. I'm rooting for you right there.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm definitely on the Bills side of that one for sure. But what you guys came for, you came for some props. We both got 3 of them for you. We got our degenerate anytime parlay for you and our best DFS one. So first one, probably a guy a lot of you guys haven't even heard of before. We're rolling with a plus money play from a guy Monotone here. He's going to start us off.
Yeah, so this guy really is. James O'Shaughnessy over 2.5 receptions at plus 115. This is still has pretty good odds all over the place. He's essentially, if you guys don't know, actually, sorry, I'll back up. He's the Jaguars tight end. So I know a lot of you guys have probably not even heard of this guy before. But he played he ran 39 routes last week, had 6 catches for 48 yards, and had 8 targets. So this is for tight ends, if you guys aren't familiar, this is a huge stat line. This guy was on the field for most of the snaps. He ran 39 routes while their backup tight end only ran 9 routes. So this is really what we look for in a lot of places is tight ends that are on the field all the time. And it's clear that he's going to be the safety valve for Trevor Lawrence. When we have DJ Chark running these deep routes, Marvin Jones over the middle and then Laviska Shenault, these are good wide receivers. But teams also know that coming into it. These receivers are going to be kept pretty close attention to by the defense. But James O'Shaughnessy, this is just a big blocking tight end. I don't think he's particularly special, but this number is just way too low. 2.5 receptions. He's there in 3 catches. He had this in the first half last week. So this is a 1-unit play for me. The value just stuck out too much. I normally don't like to, dig in the dirt right here, but I think James O'Shaughnessy could be one of those guys that we start to see this do every week. It's not going to be sexy, but 4 for 38, 5 for 50, 3 for 39, these kind of stat lines that are pretty boring. They're not going to win you any fantasy weeks, but they'll cash us some tickets. He was out there on the field all the time. Trevor Lawrence threw the ball over 50 times last week, and I think we're going to see that happen a lot because the Jags sucked this year. I mean, the Texans were the team that we were told is borderline terrible. You know, if there was a relegation in the NFL, we were hearing that they were going to be relegated. And then they beat the crap out of Jacksonville. You know, it seems like Jacksonville's going to be bad. They're going to be passing the ball a lot. And this is one that I'm pretty confident in. I feel good that he can get here pretty easily in a very boring way. But boring cashes tickets just like exciting does. So I love it.
Yeah, I like this spot a lot. Just watching how bad the play calling was of Urban Meyer in that game. Obviously, I'm very upset with the James Robinson stuff because he was pretty heavy in my lineups. But my God, if this might hit in like the first drive, dude. Like honestly, with how bad these play calls are, they just will throw the ball. Urban Meyer says he's going to try to not have him throw 50 times a game. Well, you had the perfect opportunity to do that last week, and you still did it on his first game. So I can't imagine that it's going to change much. I don't imagine they're going to have very much success running the ball with Carlos Hyde on this defense here either. So, yeah, short pass is going to be the way that these guys are going to have to move the ball this weekend for sure.
Yep, and I mean, even beyond that too, I mean, like Robinson looked good last week. Hyde did not look good last week, and I think we're going to see Hyde carry the ball 10-plus times every week, which is a great sign for your Jacksonville pass catchers moving forward. Anytime Carlos Hyde is touching the ball, you can pretty much pencil in a 2.5-yard carry, a 2nd and 7 for Lawrence to pass the ball. So, you know.
Yeah, I have no words. I hate Urban Meyer. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't even see him through half the season. So, hopefully, he just gets fired and I don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
But all right, my first one, I'm rolling with my boy Patty. I'm rolling with, I don't know if you're a UFC guy, but Patty the Batty is the guy who just came up in UFC. So I'm rolling with Patty Mahomes here. Ravens, Chiefs in prime time. Definitely very, very high total here. I saw the Chiefs were over 28 points projected total for team total. I think this line still has a ton of value. I think that books won't come out with those lines that have like 320, 330 very often, but I think this is a game where you're going to see Patty Mahomes throw for 350 this game, and I don't even think it's really that close. His one game that he threw at Baltimore, where he's going to be at this week, he went 31 for 42, 385, and 4 touchdowns. He's played the Ravens 3 other times at home in his career and averaged 378 yards per game on them, 9 touchdowns, 1 pick. In all of his road games last year, he still averaged over 316 with 321 per game on the road last year, which is absolutely insane number. The Vegas lines this as Chiefs -3.5, -4. I went through all of his games where it was a 1-score game. Yes, the Chiefs didn't have a ton of those, right? They had quite a few blowouts in there. But in the games where the Chiefs had a 1-score game, he threw for 302 against the Chargers, which he didn't hit this. But then he goes on a run here of the Raiders. He put 340 on them. Panthers, 372. Vegas, again, 350. The Bucs, he threw for 462 yards on probably a top 5 defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He covered this in Denver, 318, and then beat Miami as well with 393. I did not count the last game of the season. Obviously, Chad Henne played that one. The game before that, they clinched up everything already. He threw for like 268, but they ran the ball the whole game. They end up winning pretty easily there. But yeah, I mean, he's crushed it when they've been within 1 score. Even last week, it was a 1-score game. And I think CEH only had 14 carries in that one against the Browns defense that hasn't been great against the run. The Raiders just carved these guys, absolutely carved these guys. But the biggest thing I did take away from that is in that game, the Raiders could not run the ball either. They could not run the ball at all. The Raiders, I mean, they might not have the greatest offensive line, but they still – Josh Jacobs, 10 for 34, and Kenyon Drake, 6 for 11. I mean, I think it was like 2.8 yards per carry in this. And the Chiefs barely run already. So you're going to give me a good run defense. You're going to give me the best quarterback in the league with the top 3 players on the field on one side of the ball without Peters now, or without what's his name, Jimmy Smith, who was out last game too. This is a absolute nuke spot for me. I love Patrick Mahomes this week. I'm excited to hear what you think about this one too. What is your thought here for Mr. Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I normally kind of don't even look at these bigger quarterback numbers, and I think I want to say that what you said in the very beginning is a kind of good point, is that I think the books understand that we overlook a lot of this stuff. We all acknowledge that Patrick Mahomes is so good, and we just kind of like, let's look for those value spots. Let's look for those James O'Shaughnessy's. Let's not take the obvious Patrick Mahomes pick. And yeah, what you mentioned about the Raiders running game is exactly what I was waiting to bring up too, is that the best running back in that game was Kenyon Drake, and it wasn't on the ground. It was his pass catching work. The Ravens were super susceptible down the field to deep balls. I mean, Tyreek Hill is the best deep ball receiver in the league. That is unarguable. And they were getting carved up. There were multiple 35-plus yard completions last week. And I think we're going to see that again. Mahomes is not scared to take these deep shots. He even said in an interview that sometimes you just got to trust that Tyreek Hill is down the field and throw it down there, And I really think we're going to see that again. Kelsey is another one of those guys. Mecole Hardman is another one of those guys that can make these deep plays. And as a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fantasy owner, I'm not feeling too good. I was a big fan of him out of LSU, actually. When they took him on draft night at pick number 31, I was fired up. I had him on my fantasy teams last year, have him again this year. I'm starting to slowly realize that maybe the running back role in this Chiefs offense isn't all it's cracked up to be. Maybe Patrick Mahomes is so good that he's not going to just dump off the ball to CEH or hand the ball off to him in the red zone. He's going to let Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill catch these balls in the end zone, So I'm a little worried about Tyreek Hill, and I think about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I think we're going to see Mahomes aired out a lot. I'm really worried. I'm pretty worried about that Ravens secondary and how a passer like Derek Carr, who's pretty solid, was able to carve them up downfield, especially. Is really what I'm focusing on, and that's where Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce prosper. So I really do like this play, and I guess I wasn't paying enough attention, because I'm definitely going to hit this number as soon as we get off right here. I love this one.
Yeah, I think when books come out, whenever you see a 320, you're just like, nope, I'm done. I'm out, automatically. But when you actually, I was looking at this and I seen this number at 315, I'm like, oh, and then it went up. I'm like, oh man, this is a spot we got to hit. And to transition into your next one, rolling with a quarterback with a pretty decently high number here, we'll roll you into your second play of the day here for you, Monotone.
Yep, and I just saw a comment too that said, "Fuck it, Tyreek's down there." That's pretty much what Mahomes said last week, and I think we're going to keep seeing it. I mean, if I had Tyreek Hill down the field every time, I would feel the same exact way. So I appreciate that comment. I'm with you. Okay, but moving on to Justin Herbert now. So Justin Herbert, this is a line that I've been super excited for, waiting for all week. The Cowboys defense is the dream matchup, as we all know. And as we saw in primetime too, I was expecting them to really lay down a 310 number right here, and when it opened at 294, I'd play anything under 310. If your book still has 303, 305 laying around right now, that's a good 1 unit play right there. Herbert crushed this number last week against a defense that many considered to be one of the best in the league. And doing that, he was kept in a clean pocket on 88% of plays. So the Chargers realized, they went to the drawing board this offseason. They realized we need to improve that offensive line. We need to protect our franchise quarterback. And they did that. They held off 4 first-round picks on the Washington D-line and kept Herbert, his pocket clean on 88% of plays, which led the league last week. So, I mean, there are a number of factors that really make me love this play. I haven't even gotten to the Cowboys matchup yet, but Brady demolished this number last week. Herbert also demolished this number last week against a tougher defense. Now we have the Cowboys losing Lawrence, who is their leading pass rusher and had the most quarterback pressures last week. There's just a number of factors here. I mean, I watched this game multiple times, and Lawrence was Herbert was throwing dimes. I mean, he looked incredible. I truly do believe that Justin Herbert is going to be one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league very soon, if he isn't there already. I love his talent, and I love this matchup against one of the softest offensive or defenses in football, if not the softest defense in football. So I'm curious to hear if you share the same enjoyment that I have over this one.
Yeah, actually, he's one of my favorite stat hero guys. I'm going to be rolling him with a nice little combo in Keenan Allen as well. Keenan Allen being my MVP this week. But it's just this offense is one of those offenses that you can't just settle and lock in on one guy, right? You got Keenan Allen in the slot. You got Ekeler, obviously, who could honestly probably play slot receiver for teams if you really wanted to. Now with the addition of Jared Cook in there, my God, man, it's tough because you can't mess up over the middle. You still got Mike Williams on the side. This offense is built to score points. And I think they, had like a top 5 team total this week as well. So Dallas and Dak will jump into one of these shootout games. They want to do that. They have an offense to do that. And I really think that this number, honestly, if there was a line that said, hey, Dak and Herbert over 600 total passing yards, I'd probably throw 10 units on that thing. And I only go up to 3 because this game is just going to be up and down, up and down, up and down with very little defense involved. So I'm very excited to probably hammer this with you. I think this is a disrespectful line. This is a very disrespectful line to a guy like Justin Herbert who's got weapons galore on him.
Yeah, and you mentioned it a second ago, actually, with the total. The total was set at 55 when I was working on my write-up for this. It might have even gone up since then. In games where the total went over 55, he hit over 290 passing yards in 6 out of those 8 games in his rookie season, guys. As a rookie, that is incredible. The 2 misses were to the Saints and the Broncos, which, I mean, that tells you those are 2 pretty elite squads, you know. So I'm fully confident in Herbert. He's shown the talent. I don't want to keep boring you guys with the same statistic, but it's kind of crazy. He was kept clean in 88% of his snaps last week. I mean, that's incredible against a Washington defensive line. Now we get the Dallas defensive line. I mean, give me all the Herbert this week. DraftKings, player props, stat hero, everything. Give me Justin Herbert. I'm pumped up.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I'll be dropping a tail on you for sure. Yeah, we're going to pop on over to a play you had last week. I'm taking it this week. And honestly, this was very, very close to me putting a 2-unit play, almost a 3-unit max on this one, to be honest. The only thing really scaring me away is that Saints defense, but I'm really not even that worried about it. Christian McCaffrey, receiving yards and rushing yards, over 113.5 on DraftKings. This is probably the most disrespectful line. You'll probably never see this as low as this number ever. He had 30 touches in his first game off of a major injury. They gave him 30 touches. He had 9 catches. He had 85-plus rushing and receiving yards in the game. He almost cleared 100 on both. That's absolutely stupid. And, oh, my gosh, even when his pass block, the pass block win rate for his offensive line was 20% against the Jets. So what do you think they're going to get against the Saints? Yeah, they're probably going to get ran over, and guess who's the quickest guy to get open? DJ Moore and CMC. Those are the 2 quickest guys to get open. They're going to run those short, intermediate routes and get you a ton of catches. His yards after the catch are amazing. He faces this team, the Saints, obviously decent defense. Last year he hit it one time. He had 31 touches. He had 64 rushing yards, 69 receiving. So you can't just lock down on the rushing yards. You can't just crowd the box because it doesn't even matter. You know CMC is going to get the ball. You know it's coming his way, and you still can't stop him. They ended up getting blown out, the Panthers, against him in 2019 when he did miss this number against them. He only had 16 touches in his second game against the Saints and still had 108 total yards and only 16 touches. He had 2019. He was 12 and 2 against this number against all teams not named Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's defense that year was by far number 1 with the Rams close behind there. And again, I always like doing these when you come in and you find those one-possession games and seeing what happens when these games are competitive. I believe the Panthers are +4 in this game. The Saints are only a 4-point favorite. In one-possession games for McCaffrey in 2019, this is stupid. This is literally stupid. I'm going to run through these games. 138, 179, 237, 141, 133, 175, and the only miss was still 102. So he's cleared 100 in every single one of those games. he was averaging 157 yards per game in one possession games. That is absolutely stupid. When you saw the Saints play the Packers, yes, they blew them out, and I think that's the reason why this number is so low. But the strength of the Saints, if you watch that game, was the secondary. The secondary was the reason that the Packers got destroyed. They had 2 picks. Obviously, you got Lattimore. They got Roby. They got Jenkins. They have Trufant there. A lot of really, really good secondary options there. And Sam Darnold didn't look that bad last week. I think that he's going to do a great job here of jumping down. He's going to have to dump down or else he's going to get sacked 12 times. And CMC is the ultimate security blanket of anybody you could possibly pick out in the NFL. Definitely has got to be him. His averages in 2019, he had 25 touches per game, 4.8 yards per rush, 8.7 per reception. I think this is a game that you could easily see him get that 10 catches, and then all I need him to do is get 40 yards on the ground and vice versa. Break one rush and then just sit there and get those dump down receptions. Great yards after the catch. CMC is going to be getting the ball all the time against this good defense. And I'm very excited to see him get that ball, maybe even 30 times again, which was absolutely crazy first game post a big injury. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this one. I know you had this one last week as well.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it last week. I obviously loved it. Somebody also in the chat asked, what about over 42.5 receiving yards? I think they do go hand in hand. You know, I really like both of them. And in a game script where I think they will be trailing, I think they even could lose by more than a 1-score possession. It's going to be pressure in Sam Darnold's face. This offensive line is not great. They've built up a lot. They've used a lot of draft capital the last couple of years, but really none of it's been on the offensive line. It's been about rebuilding that defense and building some skill position players up. But that offensive line is still a little bit suspect. But like you said, Christian McCaffrey is probably the best security blanket in the NFL. I mean, this guy catches pretty much everything you throw at him. He's a tough runner. He breaks tackles. I almost want to say he's underrated. I know we acknowledge that he's one of the best players in the league, but I think we don't talk about it enough simply because he's over in Carolina. He hit this number in the first half last week, just to give you context. He hit this number in the first half. Actually, he had 10 more yards in this because the line was 10 yards higher last week, and I hit it in the first half. I mean, McCaffrey is a usage monster. He's going to touch the ball in any way they can manufacture and touches possible. They have a pretty solid offense, so you do have to respect Robbie Anderson running those deep routes. You can't bring that safety up and use him as a safety cushion against the running game. You do have to respect Robbie Anderson, Terrence Marshall Jr., and DJ Moore, who are all very good wide receivers. Whether or not Sam Darnold can support them is up to him. But if we know anyone's going to get the first chance to eat on this team, it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. You know, he's a monster. This is just... It's a great line. It's a really low line.
Way too low. I know. I was surprised when I saw it on DraftKings this morning. But one thing that I think goes under the radar here also before we move on to your next one is Sam Darnold has played with absolutely awful offensive lines. He knows how to get rid of the ball. Yeah. He's had to do it with the Jets. That team was so bad. He had no one there, but he had to find a way to make stuff done. And his numbers weren't great, but I mean, my numbers wouldn't be great either if I had a guy in my face in under a second. If you give him 2 seconds, he's going to have enough time to get McCaffrey this ball. Same thing with actually, I won't say anything more about it. I'll just get to your next pick because I don't want to steal your thunder on your next Carolina pick here.
Yep. So it's another 1.5 unit play, 3. That makes 3 on the week, 2 on the show so far. And that's DJ Moore over 4.5 receptions. I was pretty shocked to see this number open here. It actually moved while I was doing my write-up to minus 130, and it's still here right now. So a lot of these, I post on Twitter over at Monotone Football. I catch these early opening lines, and our little community can get on them pretty fast, but that does leave some people out, unfortunately. But this one is still here, and I honestly don't know why. I mean, what we saw last week was super clear, and I think this is some might say I'm overreacting to week 1, but I think after watching the game back a couple times, it's pretty clear. And that's Robbie Anderson. Last year was one of my favorite players, and I have him on a lot of my fantasy teams this year for that specific reason. And what I saw from week 1 from Robbie Anderson was not what I wanted to see. And that's that his route tree has gone back exactly to what it was for the New York Jets when they played there. So last year he transformed into this kind of guy that they would manufacture touches for him. They would hit him over the middle. They would set up screens for him, and they would let him do these yards after catch plays. And he turned out that he's actually really good at that. But it seems like with the personnel that they have available, the coaches went to the drawing board. They said, you know what, Sam Darnold is much more comfortable when Robbie Anderson is there to stretch the floor or stretch the court, I guess, whatever you want to say. Stretch the field is the correct saying. But he's there to run these deeper routes that he became known for before last year. And that means that DJ Moore ran a lot of these intermediate routes over the middle. He was there even as a bit of a safety valve if McCaffrey wasn't available in the check down. Moore was not running these super deep routes like we saw a bit of last year. You know, he's become a lot more, just a lot more,
versatile.
Exactly the word I was looking for. He's become a lot more versatile. He's opened up what he's been able to do. And I was just waiting for this one, man. I really like Moore as a player, but I've never liked what they've done with him in the past. But this year, it is clear that they are committing to him being their number one wide receiver. He hit this fairly easily last week. And our biggest scare might be that he would go up against a tough Saints quarterback, but Lattimore had thumb surgery, I believe, and he will be out for this game. So one of the best cover corners in the league is no longer there. And who we saw replace him was Desmond Trufant, who is a career average player at best. You know, I would take the DJ Moore over Desmond Trufant matchup every single time. And that's what I'm doing this week. I think Moore is someone that a lot of people are overlooking. And I'm surprised that this number is still available because I really do think that they're going to work to get him the ball and that Robbie Anderson running these deep routes wasn't like a 1 week special. I think that's what Sam Darnold's most comfortable with throughout his career. And I think the coaches want to make Sam Darnold as comfortable as possible in this new offense.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, that pass block, run block number that I came up with a little earlier, that just screams DJ Moore. That just screams DJ Moore. It screams Christian McCaffrey, right? If you're a better run blocking team, obviously you're going to run the ball. But guess what? They're probably not going to be winning this game. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're probably not going to beat the Saints, right? So if you're down and you have a really bad pass block, you got to get the ball out quick. And DJ Moore is that quick threat now. I think what happened was without CMC last year, they had to find a way to fill that void, and Robbie Anderson was that void. He was able to do it. And I had both guys. I had DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson on my team last year. Usually only started one, but Robbie Anderson only had 3 targets week 1. 3 targets.
9% target share.
Yeah, and that is because he had no time. He has no time to let Robbie Anderson get deep. DJ Moore's going to run those quick slants. He's going to be the one that run the bubble screens. And guess what? Bubble screens still count. Doesn't matter if it's behind the line. It's still going to count for a catch. So great spot, great line. Don't know why it hasn't moved a ton yet. I will probably be grabbing that one shortly too. Just a great spot overall. And I think Darnold is capable enough to get him the ball 5 times, relatively close to where he is.
Yep. Good enough is all we need. We don't need special. Yeah. We don't need him to cash my MVP 100-1 bet in week number 2. We can give him some time for that, you know?
It's a good look. Good look. Let's get to my last one. It is a 2-unit play. Rarely do these. Stupid Delvin Cook fumbled, or else we would have hit my last 2-unit. 3 units my max. I don't know what it is for you, but 3 units is my max. So I don't usually go up to 2 units very often. But this is a smash spot. If Urban Meyer wasn't a dumbass, James Robinson would have hit this number. But this is just a huge value spot. Huge value spot. Worst rushing defense coming off a performance that they didn't do awful, but it's because there wasn't opportunity for it. The Jaguars ran 15 carries last week and had 80 yards. So it's over 5 yards a carry. So it's not like they got any better. They just got the lead early and they got away from the run. They were obviously league worst, 158 per game last year. But on the road last year, that was 11 yards worse. They were averaging 169.2 rush yards against on the road last season. Absolutely awful. And you know Nick Chubb's going to get his opportunities. At home last year, Chubb averaged 110 yards rushing per game. He went 15 carries for 83 yards last week. So still 5.5 yards per carry. And that's with a competitive Chiefs team and a decent defensive line. Last year when he faced Houston, he went for 19 carries, 126 yards. On DraftKings, he was projected for 17.5 carries at minus 125. Again, I always like going off those. Obviously not going to have as many dumb coaches in the NFL as Urban Meyer to miss that by that much. But last season when he went over 18 carries, he hit this number at 5 of 7, and one of the ones he missed was in the playoffs against Pittsburgh. So tough line there. But the funny thing was the week before that, he put 108 on Pittsburgh. So it wasn't like anything too crazy. They just obviously knew they had to stop the run in that one. So I love this spot. I think that this is just an absolute smash spot. If this game I'm hoping this game stays competitive long enough where he can hit this. But if it gets to a blowout, I don't think it's because Baker is throwing. It's because they're just running that ball down their throat. So if they do get that big lead, I do not expect this line to be very hard to hit at all for Nick Chubb. Obviously great at breaking tackles, great after first contact, elite speed, and going against the worst run defense last year. And they didn't get any better. That's the worst part, is if James Robinson got enough carries last week, this line would be like 90, 95, right? But when you look on their defensive numbers, they're not that bad against the run. They only gave up 79 rushing yards. No, it's because Urban Meyer is literally a dumbass. That is the only thing I have to say about it. And this number is probably 10 yards too low. I don't expect Nick Chubb to be under 100 yards this game. Probably going to be in some of my same game parlays, or one of those crazy alternate line parlays that I throw out for just stupid money to see if we can hit it. But I do not see Nick Chubb under 100 yards this game.
Yeah, so one, I obviously like the take, and two, just talk about this a little bit more and respond to one of the comments. Ben Moore, who said that the Browns' backfield always scares him a little bit because they do bring in Hunt. And that is a valid concern most of the time. But who's really surprised at the end of this game if Nick Chubb has like 130 yards and Kareem Hunt has another 55? This Houston run defense is really, really bad. We saw Trevor Lawrence throw the ball 55 times last week for whatever reason. I guess they wanted to let the rookie cook, see what he had. But we didn't see it last week, but we saw it all of last year. And the defense has actually gotten worse. They've traded away 2 starters from last year and brought up essentially practice squad players to replace them. So this is they were borderline historically bad last year, and I think that trend is going to continue this week. And I think this is a great example of kind of watching the games, understanding information, and then ignoring a lot of the box score stuff that people go off of. The books want to keep their numbers as reasonable as possible, and they want to let people over or underreact to things. And I think this is an example of people overreacting to what they saw from a very weird play calling game last week from Urban Meyer, which led to their running back who ran for 1,000 yards last year, touched the ball 6 times in the backfield, and then the 35-year-old Carlos Hyde run the ball 10 times. It was very mind blowing. But yeah, Chubb is, if not the best pure runner in the NFL, the second best. He is clearly amazing at what he does. And who's going to stop them? Even if they are up 24-7 at halftime, you best bet when they get that kickoff in the second quarter, Chubb is just running the ball down the field. They have no interest in, risking any injuries with Baker Mayfield doing any crazy deep throws, anything like that. Baker Mayfield's going to play a very chill game. He's not going to make any super crazy risks, and they're just going to let Nick Chubb win this game. Kareem Hunt will be part of that too, but Nick Chubb is clearly the number one in this team, so I'm not worried at all about the competition.
And you want to know something else that's funny? We're talking so much crap about stupid Carlos Hyde. That man averaged 5 yards a carry on this defense. That man's 35 years old and averaged 5 yards a carry on this defense. That is stupid. James Robinson, 5.8. It's not any better. I watched this full game, obviously, because I had money on James Robinson and just realized, obviously, this is going to change the line on here. Smash spot, absolute smash spot, 2 units on it. And we got one question before we get into our DFS ones. Jonnu Smith over 28.5 yards. Jets allowed the most tight end yards last year, and Jonnu caught 5 of 5 targets last week. Yeah, you targeted, you said exactly what I was going to say at the bottom. It's all about game script. It's all about game script of this game. Unfortunately, I can't predict game script. But yeah, if it obviously depends on that for my thing on Jonnu Smith. I didn't really break down much onto him at all, very much. But yeah, it's tough for me. I think Mac Jones showed he could play last week. I would probably lean over, but I wouldn't make it as a full play because I think there's too much variance for me.
Yeah, so this is one that I like it, actually. I do co-sign this play right here, and it's something that I considered. I have a list every week where I make my own numbers, right? And I'm looking for these lines that I can hit off the bat, and one of them was Jonnu Smith over 2.5 receptions. So not the yards, but the receptions. Unfortunately, it did open in the minus 160 range, where I feel more comfortable having it as a parlay piece or something like that. But the yards go right with it. Smith clearly showed himself. He got open. He got open 5 times. He caught all 5 balls. Hunter Henry was out there too. He also looked good. This is a good tight end rotation. But Mac Jones completed 29 passes last week. And is he going to do that every week with the team that has Damian Harris on it, who was really good but fumbled at the end? I'm not so sure. So this is actually something that the Patriots are a team that I've thought about a lot this week. I wanted to bet Mac Jones over completions. I wanted to bet Jonnu Smith over receptions, even Jacoby Myers over receptions for the second week in a row. But I kind of had to pump the brakes and realize that they're playing the Jets. I think they might just destroy the Jets. Like I bet the Patriots to win this game on the spread at -5 or whatever it was. I think they'll win this game really easily. And I don't think Mac Jones is going to have to do too much. So when we look at guys like Jonnu Smith and guys like Mac Jones, let's save this for week 3 when he's actually going to have to throw the ball. The Jets were bad last week. Zach Wilson was bad last week. He was the worst rookie. I hate to tell any Jets fans out there, but out of all the rookie quarterbacks I watched play last week, he did not impress me that much. He made a couple nice throws, but that was also in garbage time. You got to understand that against the Panthers defense, that's kind of mad. This Patriots defense is legit. So I do like this play, but I'm going to pump the brakes until next week in a game script that they're going to have to be more competitive in. That's pretty much my line of thinking right here.
Yeah, it's very tough to deal with game script questions like that, especially when it can be that bad very quickly. And yeah, you can run 2 tight ends when you got 2 good ones like that, and they can pass block too. So let's move on to DFS. We'll get to the questions at the end in between our DFS and our anytime parlay. But yeah, we're going to start out with our top DFS option. We're going to roll with yours first there, your top DFS option of the week.
Yep. I see the questions. Stick with us for a minute, guys. We're gonna get you these.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I can talk about this shit all day. But so last week we killed it with Joe Mixon. He was in all of my lineups. I told you guys this. I love Joe Mixon. So there's nobody that I have that level of affection for this week, unfortunately, at least with the pricing and all that. But Austin Ekeler is a good play for a lot of reasons that a lot of people aren't even looking at. So one, Austin Ekeler is going to be fairly popular this week. I don't think he'll be mega chalk or anything like that, but it'll be a fairly popular play due to the game he's in. But something not a lot of people realize is that Austin Ekeler had 2 carries within the 5-yard line last week and 3 carries within the 10-yard line. So this is a guy that was not really getting these goal line carries last year. He's not a big running back. He's not a physical running back, but this is a coach. The Chargers' new head coach is kind of from the school of thought where you give your lead running back the ball in the red zone. We saw this with the Rams too. Sean McVay, who was the coach of the Chargers coach comes from the Rams, and he was mentored, another one of these guys that was mentored by McVay. And both of these guys have the similar philosophy that you give your lead running back the ball in the red zone. We saw this with Henderson last week, who also had similar stats. I believe he had 3 carries within the 10-yard line. So we're kind of seeing a pattern develop right here. And that's that Austin Ekeler is going to get a lot more chances in the red zone this year. He didn't do this last year, and a lot of people are not accounting for this as much. We obviously know his upside is super high with his receiving game work. We saw him run 22 routes last week. He didn't get much receiving, but we're definitely going to see some positive regression in his favor right here. We know what he can do with the ball in his hands, both out of the backfield and receiving wise. So I'm pretty confident that Ekeler has a great week. This is a high scoring game. A lot of people are going to look to the receivers, but you got to remember who they hand the ball off to on the 1-yard line. And I think I think we're seeing a trend develop early that it's going to be Ekeler this year, and I think he can get in there. So I'm feeling good about Ekeler as my top option of the week.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I like the Chargers this week. Like I said, I have Keenan Allen MVP and Stathero with Justin Herbert. And obviously, Ekeler and Herbert are one of the very few that can correlate and have great games, both of them. Right? Baker and Nick Chubb, no, they're not really going to, because obviously it's not going to really work that way. And that'll transition me into my top one. I'm rolling with Nick Chubb. I already gave you the full breakdown. I don't really need to get too much more into it there. But I mean, yeah, I'm seeing him at pretty damn nice prices. He's 9,100 on Stathero, which I think is stupid low. FanDuel was 8,400. Just to put it in context, Christian McCaffrey's 10-1, I think. So I'm getting the $1,800 discount, and he has to go against a much easier matchup here. Like I said, I think this is a smash spot for Nick Chubb, and I already gave you guys every every detail I needed to give you about how good I think he's going to do this week. So mine's very quick. We'll move on to the value spots here. Value option for you. One of my favorite guys. My guys from last week, man. That was easy money.
Yeah, this is a big win last week. We both of us were team Deebo over Ayuk, and Ayuk had no catches. He might not even be a starting wide receiver at this point. Who knows? But Deebo Samuel is still not being priced where he should be. He is now obviously the clear number one wide receiver on this team, and he demolished the slate. I mean, it's so rare that we see a wide receiver pretty much break the slate with super low ownership, and then the public continues to ignore that same guy the next week. What reason do we have to avoid Deebo Samuel here? Is it the secondary of the Eagles? No, that secondary is historically bad. Not this year. I mean, like over the last couple of years, they've been really bad. Yeah, sorry. They have Darius
I know what you mean.
Slay.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, they have Darius Slay. He's a good corner. I'm a fan of Darius Slay. I think he's pretty good. But I mean, Deebo Samuel is a pretty matchup-proof kind of receiver because he does a lot of his work after the catch. But I love Samuel here. And another thing is they get him involved in the run game too. They want this guy with the ball in his hands. They get him these jet sweeps. They get him these bubble screens. They hand the ball off to him. They do trick plays. He's in motion all the time. Deebo Samuel is a very dynamic player. And now that we know that Brandon Ayuk not only isn't stealing his job, but is barely playing, this opens up a lot of market share for him. Kittle's still there to take targets. Kittle's a great tight end. He'll be there. He'll do that. But Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to throw the ball at least 25 times, and or maybe 20 to 25 times, and I have trouble believing that Samuel won't be the recipient of at least 8 of those. And even beyond that, a lot of people are kind of saying that, okay, we saw what San Francisco could do. A lot of people are high on them, that this could be maybe a blowout or a one-sided game, but I don't think so. The Eagles showed a lot last week. I think this is going to be a close game. And the 49ers, I think, are going to have to work. I don't think they're just – I mean, they essentially ran the ball all of the second half. They slowly let the Lions get back into it, and it didn't matter in the end. They still beat the Lions, obviously. But I think they're going to not have to be able to do that. I don't think they're just going to be able to hand the ball off to Elijah Mitchell for the whole second half. I think they're going to have to throw the ball, and I think Deebo Samuel is a big part of that. They love getting him touches. I love his upside, and I think he could break the slate for the second week in a row at low ownership, which is kind of crazy. And that's why he's a value play, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like it. Like I said, I loved talking about his yak last week. I mean, I hit it. If he would have had one catch, he could have cleared this 3 times at 46. He had 2 catches over that and a couple 25-yarders too. So very good option. I love Deebo Samuel. And I started him last week, and he just absolutely killed my opponent. I ended up winning by like 70 points last week. So I'm going to a very, 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 very low value option here. I got this guy at 4,100 on Stathero. 4,100 for Sammy Watkins, who you could say is the number one option on this team. He was the number one option in targets. He had 8 targets of the 30, ended up getting 26% target share there. 4 for 91, great yards after the catch. And you're going to give me a revenge game, and you're going to give me a team that you know is going to be winning. You know they're going to score points. The Chiefs aren't going to slow down. I like this spot a ton for them at 4,100. 4,100 is just stupid. If I can get him at 20 points, that's unbelievable value. That's absolutely crazy that this guy is this cheap. Lamar Jackson showed he actually didn't have bad balls he's putting out there. He's able to buy you extra time, and he is the guy that we're going to be looking for now. I like him with Andrews still, but man, this Chiefs defense is going to be in a lot of trouble here because I think the Chiefs offense is going to score within 2 minutes on this Ravens defense. Yeah. So you see it like even last night when Washington decided to not run the ball at all, their defense got super, super tired because they thought Heineke was Patrick Mahomes. And when they don't have the ball for long enough, their defense has no time to rest. And this is going to be where I love Sammy Watkins here. All we really need is 5 catches, 50 yards, and I'll be happy at this low value.
Yeah, so I definitely have some opinions on this team's wide receiver core, and it really starts with one thing, is that Sammy Watkins is good at football and Marquise Brown is not good at football. So last week I put out a tweet saying multiple tweets about this, that Sammy Watkins is the number 1 receiver on this team, but also I acknowledge that Marquise Brown, despite the fact that I don't like him and I don't think he's that good, was going to have a good week 1 because the Raiders secondary is bad. It's very, very bad. We're going to see that all year long. It is not a good secondary. And they were going to let whoever caught the ball feast, but this is a little bit of a different situation. Sammy Watkins now goes into a situation where he will be facing a tougher cornerback, but so will Marquise Brown. And I think that will weigh on Brown a lot more. I think we're going to see Andrews available for the same kind of role he always has, but his usage was nowhere near as high as I thought it would be last week. There were 2 plays I was considering for that Monday night game, and it was Marquise Andrews and Darren Waller, both over, and only Waller hit. So I'm glad I put neither of those out. I would have lost money on going 50-50. But I was not impressed with the role that we saw from Andrews. They gave him a big pay bonus. They gave him a good contract. I thought he was going to dominate. But Lamar was throwing the ball to receivers. He was operating the pocket better than expected, for me at least. And I think Sammy Watkins is the best receiver on this team. And I think that's going to show this week. Like you said, they're probably going to be behind. And depending on how good you think the Ravens are going to be, they might be behind by a lot. So Watkins, to pay off this value should be really easy. I think 4 catches, 45 yards is like his floor every week. I think he can only go up from there. And I think occasionally we'll see him go for like 6 catches for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I think you could get that week almost every week. So I like this play. I definitely back it up, especially at that super cheap value.
Yeah, no, he's my cheap guy of the week. Not too many guys that you can get at that price that I know are going to be on the field for that often. A lot of those guys are going to be like mostly special teams guys that kind of come in for 1 or 2 plays, But we are on to our favorite part here, at least my favorite part, because everybody likes to be a little degenerate once in a while, when we get to that anytime parlay. Last week we both missed with Lamar Jackson missing, and then obviously I don't need to talk about Robinson anymore. But I really like this one. This is great value between these two, almost plus 350 on this value here. And we will go here. I'm rolling with Travis Kelce. He's going to be my anytime parlay scorer here. I just really think this spot is just stupid. Like I said, I think he was minus 125 or minus 130 on the line that I was looking at. And I mean, I just saw Darren Waller with Derek Carr torch this team for 100 something yards and touchdown. And now you're going to upgrade your quarterback. You're going to upgrade your tight end and still give me that value. I think it's very nice to get this anytime touchdown score. And you actually have to worry about someone else. You get to take Henry Ruggs and replace him with Tyreek Hill in this offense. You got to worry about something else a lot more intimidating than Henry Ruggs in his 2 catches per game. But I think this is a smash box for Kelce. I'm going to have him on my Stathero lineup for my 6-man team. I love him this week. I think it's a smash spot for him against this team that we just saw get absolutely demolished by Mr. Darren Waller.
Yeah, and I mean, 19 targets doesn't just happen because he's the best player on the team. It happens because that's a spot the defense is a little bit schematically weaker in, And so moving on to my play, we got Amari Cooper as well right here. So Amari Cooper had 2 touchdowns last week. I know a lot of people watch this primetime game, but the odds don't seem to reflect that. He's plus minus 130 on DraftKings where I saw it. He might even be a little bit higher somewhere else. But he had a good week. I mean, Amari Cooper showed that he is one of the premier route runners in the league. A lot of people forget that, but he runs super crisp routes. He's pretty much been doing it since he was a rookie. This guy is a pro, and it's easy to get caught up in the hype with CeeDee Lamb. I like CeeDee Lamb a lot too. But Dak is going to throw the ball so much this year, so much. He's going to throw the ball almost 45 plus times every single week. And he did that against a really good defense last week. The Chargers do have a good defense. I don't think it's on the same level as the Bucs, and I think we're going to see with an implied team total of over 21 points, that's accounting for 3 touchdowns. Cooper had 2 last week. I think we see him get in there at least once this week. I mean, he's going to be running all the routes necessary. They look at him in the red zone. Zeke is going to struggle, I think, continue to struggle, especially with how they used him last week. I don't know if a lot of people picked up on this, but Ezekiel Elliott is a good pass blocker. Like, he is legitimately, ever since college, he's been good at picking up those blitzes, taking a guy off and giving his quarterback extra time. And with how bad that offensive line is, he had to do that a lot last week. As someone that had his receptions prop, he had to do it a lot, and he didn't catch many balls. And I think that's going to happen again. The Chargers were getting a lot of pressure last week, and I think we're going to see that again. This is an even worse offensive line. I think the pressure is going to get there. And I think Zeke's going to have to be pass blocking a little bit, or I think he's going to struggle in the run game. So I really like Cooper to duplicate his performance from last week. I think he has a great week, and I love the touchdown play. So I really like this. Kelsey is a lock. I mean, that was probably going to be mine if you didn't send it to me first. Who doesn't? Kelsey gets in there almost. I mean, he's going to have like 16, 18 touchdowns by the end of this year. So I love Kelsey. I love this play. And I think this is our week. Last week we had a little bit of bad luck, but I think we turn it around right here.
I know that luck last week was terrible. So let's get to some comments, concerns here. Damn, these dudes are handsome. Yeah, we try, man. Try. Get a haircut. I need to get it chopped up a little bit. The fade is not there where it needs to be. This is TGB. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yes, thank you guys. Jason obviously is in here all the time. I love Jason. Very good contributor to the channel. Always helps us out. Thank you. Hit the like button. Yes, we appreciate that as well. Only a couple things I'm seeing in here. Monotone, a Chargers fan, probably better than what you are right now.
I'm a Washington football team fan, actually. So if anything, I don't have any Chargers biased. I watched them beat the crap out of my team last week, and I'm betting them this week. So, I'm a fan. I'm a fan for sure of Washington, but also the Chargers. I think they're a good team.
FYI, Shanahan said Ayuk will be back to last year's full role. I thought that he missed curfew is what I read. I thought I heard he missed curfew instead of a hammy, but if it's a hammy, then I don't really care. Deebo Samuel's going to get the targets, man.
Yeah, I've seen like 8 conflicting reports to this comment. No offense to you, Michael V, but I've been following this pretty closely, and Shanahan says a new quote every day. I mean, this guy's just fucking with us at this point. I'm going to trust what we saw on the field last week. I'm going to trust what we saw last year at all those stats that he threw at us last week about why he was going to cover this number. He was good with Ayuk last year, end of story. He's a good wide receiver. Deebo Samuel's going to go off whether Ayuk is out there or not. But guess what? I'm going to side with the fact that Ayuk is not back to a full role this week, despite whatever Shanahan has decided to grace us with this week.
Yeah, I got a couple more here. I agree definitely with Deebo. I love the bashing of Urban Meyer. He will be even worse than I 100% agree. That guy is an absolute bum.
Yep. He should have taken that USC job.
Yeah, I know. Great content. Thank you. Eagles fan in here. Yes, Ben Moore, 100%. 100%. I thought they looked great. I think the Eagles just played a garbage team in week 1, 49ers by 30. I 100% disagree with this. I think Jalen Hurts is going to cook these guys again. I think Miles Sanders is going to run all over them. Dude, DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams freaking torch these guys. Come on now. Come on. You guys are disrespecting the Eagles that much.
I'll give a little pushback right there. I think the 49ers do win this game, but I think it's close. I think they work for it. And, I mean, Swift and Williams did have really good stat sheets, but a lot of that came in the second half when there was a lot of prevent defense going on. If you actually look at how these cornerbacks played, because I was expecting the 49ers cornerback core to be really bad. But if you look how they played in the first half, they allowed very, very little receptions, receiving yards, any of that. They were very good in the first half. And I think we see that carry over. Devonta Smith, it's his second ever game. Jalen Reagor hasn't shown a whole lot in his career. I think the 49ers defense surprises some people from what we saw last week with a little bit of an inflated box score due to garbage time dump offs from Jared Goff, the garbage time master. So
for sure. Well, we are closing in on an hour, 55 minutes here. So we're going to sign off. I appreciate every single one of you guys posting stuff in here. I would say yes to the over 6.5 rushing attempts, the question that I saw for Jalen Hurts there. I would say yes.
Same here.
But we tried to
yards.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to try to keep it under an hour. Last time we went way over an hour, so we're going to try to stay under just in case people want to run back on it. Yes, if you guys have any questions, always DM us. We have Monotone Football. He's got his @ right there. Mine is Player Prop Savant, the name right underneath my thing there. So if you guys have any questions, shoot us a DM. Make sure you follow Monotone on Twitter and YouTube. He's got a channel over there, so make sure you go subscribe over there. Any final thoughts for you, Mr. Monotone?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate everyone tuning in, all the great questions. It was fun to do all this week 2 stuff, but, I gave out 3 plays here. I have about 9 on the week, so if you want the rest of those, it's completely free. Just come over to Twitter, see what's up, join the great people over there. Had fun.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate all the comments here. Yeah, this is fun. This is fun for us, and we appreciate every single one of you guys staying in with us. Hopefully we can come back with a sweep. Cut down our amount of picks. We're going to get a quick sweep for you guys. Hopefully 6-0 on the plays, and our DFS kills it too. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We will see you guys next week, same time, for some more plays and props. Thank you guys so much.